Mystery comment says first. Yeah, you are first. Tell or ask me anything in the chat. Anything at all. Crazy Star says hello. Hello, Crazy Star. Jacqueline says, oh my god. Hello, Jacqueline. Dola says, Edward Don Cullen. Okay. Crazy Star says, how are you? I'm good, thank you. Stacy says, happy Thanksgiving. Thank you, I appreciate it. Zach says hi. Hello, Zach. Tell or ask me anything in the chat. Crazy Star says that's good. Yeah, it is good that I'm good. Gozy says, hello, I am back. Welcome to the stream, Gozy. Zach says, fuck you. Okay. Jamie says, hi, you, good to see you again. Hello, Jamie. Rykov says, parasocial says, Rykov says, parasocial says, moop, moop. Okay. Dola says, please put me in a headlock. No. D4 says, bro, it happened. I genuinely thought you died. Like, did someone die or something? I only disappeared for like 3 days, so nobody died. Mutant says, my favorite CIA agent. Okay. Jacqueline says, did he have a good day? Yeah. Gozy says, I am in Indonesia. I don't know anything about Indonesia other than it's tropical, right? Monk says, gang, you ass look like you can predict the past. I can predict the past. I can. Everyone can. Ash says, love from India. Hello, Ash. Dirty says, did he drop a deuce today? No comment. Rykov says, I would like to know what is to your left, something catching your eye. This way, there's nothing interesting that way, I'm just thinking. Ricky says, happy Thanksgiving, Augie 100. Thank you, Ricky Cornflakes. Irizi says, why is bro angry? I'm not angry. Garvita says, you are my low day ball. What does that mean? Jamal says, crown emoji. Okay. Moody says, are we dumber as human beings than we were 1,000 years ago? I guess in some ways. Garvit says that low-key means pube hair. What? Ricky says your hair, Augie, it's growing. Of course it is. But yeah, I haven't been getting haircuts. That noob says, how about to solve the war between pancakes and waffles, just make waff cakes? Huh, that's interesting. Degenerate says, why are you the sex offender registry? I'm not on that. Free says, are you trying to find an engine for your spaceship? No. Ed says, this dude needs to take it down a notch. You're being sarcastic. Okay. D4 says, why is it saying everybody's actual YouTube accounts? It changed. Before it would show the names of people, but now it's like the usernames. Nancy says his name is not Ashbro, it's pronounced Asher. Sorry, that's complicated. 23 says, do you enjoy gay porn? I don't. Not my thing. Ricky Cornflakes super chatted $5 American. Thank you, Ricky Cornflakes. Ricky Cornflakes says, take this money. Let me know when that Kai Cenat collab is coming. I want to see y'all fight, and I'ma be there to raise your fist in victory. That's probably never coming. I don't watch any Kai Cenat, but mean Kai Cenat fighting, that's what you're envisioning. Interesting. Thank you again, Ricky Cornflakes, for your super chat. $5, thanks. Mutant says, bro, do you have physics studies? No, not right now. Ronnie says, dude's thinking of James CEO laughing my fucking ass off. Who's that? That sounds familiar. Gozy says, nickname my pufferfish plushie. Peter. Cody says, are you going to address the allegations about OnlyFans? What allegations? Ricky Cornflake says, what are you thankful for, Donnie? My good health. Mystery Comment says, your thoughts on 3D printed chicken and Campbell's soup? I did hear about that. One of the employees said that. I mean, obviously it's unhealthy. Maxis Strata says, I'm gay. You're gay, good for you. Flynn says, where are the bodies, Garth? I don't kill people. Nicole says, all you had to do was look on the back of the can and you would see the ingredients. Yeah, it's probably that simple, yeah. Luis Alvarez says, well, hello, day 12 of asking Dawn to play Minecraft with me. No. Shauna says, do you think pineapple belongs in pizza? I mean, I like it. Maxis says, you're a femboy? No, I'm not. Shajita says 20 push-ups for a subscribe. I'll do 20 push-ups for $500. No, $1,000. Coca-Cola says, you're adopted and your parents hate you. No comment. Benoni says, internet beggar. I mean, I said $1,000. That's, nobody's gonna do that deal. That's a stupid deal. Mr. Feast says, first time seeing you smile. Okay. Rusty says, 2-pack didn't do nothing to no one. And that's all I'm gonna say about that. Okay. D4 says, it's not D, it's DeForest. Okay. Mo says, have you been to Pizza Planet? Is that a Toy Story thing? No. Zach says, I am so confused, but I like it. I'm glad you're enjoying yourself. Damien says, happy Thanksgiving. Thank you. Lord says, can you shout me out? My mom's low-key homeless. No. JTA says, what did your barber do to you? I mean, I don't think it was the barber. It's just that I don't tend to my hair. Gozi says, do you believe in Islam? Do I believe it's real? No, I don't believe in Islam. Sly says, eat more protein, kid. Maybe I should. Anonymous says, are you Asian? No. Raphael says, how much to shave your head? $100,000. Don Perry says, why isn't Islam real? Why is Islam real? Joe says, I work on F-35s for a living. You're awesome, brother. You work on jets. Neat. Cosmic says, send 100,000 Zimbabwe dollars trust. That wouldn't work. No deal. Mo says, hi, it's Femboy. My account got banned. Well, that's unfortunate because I don't know if I can believe that. It doesn't seem like you're Femboy because you type differently than him. Raphael says, Don, you would look alpha with a shaved head? Maybe. Seaboy says, why does his voice and demeanor low-key put me at ease? I don't know. 12K says, where is the mod squad? I saw Jacqueline the mod a few minutes ago. Man says, Pitt says hi from El Salvador. Okay. Whoopty says, are you fluent in ancient Sumerian? No. Acid says, I rank website in Google. What's your business site name? What? CJ says, did you get in a fight with your hairbrush? You're saying my hair is crazy? Okay. Farah says, are you going to answer me? Ask your question again. Ricky says, you smile more? I do? Okay. Prem says, ye, boy. Okay. S.I. says, you reminded me of a particular actor. Can't place which one. Okay. Raphael says, Don, what do you smell like? I wear a cologne. I think it has citrus. Cosmic says, your nose holes are so big you can fit carrots up them. My nostrils are big. I think they are. Nicole says, you are allspice? What? Mystery comment says, Jacqueline is still traumatized by being taken hostage. She's never been taken hostage. Femboy Stormtrooper says, are people in chat really claiming that they're me? Also, hey Don. Hello, Femboy Stormtrooper. Yeah, they are. I thought that was kind of cool, that them trying to claim that they were you. Anti-Troll says, are you Islamophobic? No. Claire says, how many times do you say I know a day? 3 times on average. Prem says, he literally read that, heh, yeah, boy. Oh yeah, you wrote a message, and a weird message, and I read it out, yeah. Jeff says, are you AI or jealous of AI? Jealous. Alumi says, hello, Don. Long time no see. Why have you been hiding from me? Why I haven't been streaming, I'm not gonna say. Nancy says, you told us your height. What is your weight? It's like 140. Real says, what do you like to do for fun? Video edit. Minnesota says, depends on how often Don knows. Yeah. Joy says, get a job, Unk. Okay. Austin says, you're such an odd character, I can't figure you out. Okay. Geig says, can we Dutch rudder, please? I don't know what that is. It's probably something really disgusting. Femboy Stormtrooper says, someone in an unrelated corner of the internet recognized me from your chats too. I got famous living in your shadow. That's pretty cool. I'm guessing it was another vertical live stream like this, right? Callie says, happy Thanksgiving. Thank you, Callie, you too. Mystery Comment says, when I see the word Islam, I just think of the word salami. Okay. Austin says, would you ever transition into a woman? I mean, I have no plans for it. I doubt that will ever happen. Augustin says, you look like the kid who killed because he couldn't get laid. Okay. Alumi says, your handler has been restricting your hours. No comment. JTA says, this stream is my safe place. I hope you should get a better safe place. Kim says, did you give the AI male voice? Crying emoji. You're saying I sound like AI? Okay. Sly Cat says, Elliot Roger reference. I guess so. Vaguely from that comment earlier. JTA says, it's my safe place because of your voice. Huh. My voice gives cozy, safe vibes. Okay. Raka says, how can I donate? The money sign at the bottom of the screen. PD says, Islam destroys everything. No comment. Jack says, it's my birthday. Can you say happy birthday? Who cares about some stranger telling you happy birthday? No. Fat says, what would you do for a Klondike bar? Nothing. Ricky says, FNAF movie, Don? I haven't watched it. CG says, why you sound so depressed? Well, my personality is just that way. Callie says, happy birthday. You're saying happy birthday to that one guy. Okay. Coca-Cola says, your voice gives me creepy pet killer vibes. That's not my thing. Lost in a Room says California. Okay. Jared says, there is a halo around the sun in South Africa. Huh. Minnesota says, I'll be delivering hot meals on wheels to the elderly most of the day. That's pretty awesome. 12K says, hey Don, what inspired your new channel name? I think parasocial, the idea is like why this stream gets viewers, because of parasocial reasons, so it seems fitting. Bitter says hi. Hello, Bitter. Lost in the Room says no turkey. What? Jaron says, you've got black eyes like me. Okay. Callie says, interesting chat sometimes. Sometimes I get interesting messages, yeah. Anti-Troll says, talk with your real voice. I'm pretty sure this is. Alami says, what is up with the channel formerly known as Parasocial Don Benitez? Nothing interesting. Just unsubscribe. Burrito says, do you like diggers? Like mine, like, what do you mean? I know Donut, the YouTuber, doesn't. Nicole says, good night, have a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you. Sly says, what is your major malfunction? What? Moody says, how would you teach concept of light to a person who is born blind? That's, I don't know. Kevin says, we know what others are saying we can read. Are you considering this to be quality content? Quality content. No. Captain says, your door is on the wall to the left of you, isn't it? Maybe. Sly Cat says, I can barely read. Now I have a reason to actually be doing this, to be reading out loud. Lost in a Room says, I have to work Starbucks on Thanksgiving. Unfortunate. Spooky Jishwa says, Spooky Jishwa says, wow, you broke the system. You did. Mystery Comment says, do you think muscle car prices will collapse with boomers aging? I don't know. High-End says, oh my, you remind me of Mr. Bean. Mr. Bean, that comedy guy? Okay. Lori says, hey you, happy Thanksgiving. Thank you. Chuck says, something feels weird when he keeps looking over for reassurance. There's nobody over there. Anti-Troll says, talk louder. Sorry, I'm not. Maybe in the future, though, I'll get a microphone instead of just using my phone microphone. Beetroot says, hey, cutie patootie. Hello, Beetroot. Salt says, who is forcing you to do this? Myself. Hale says hello. Hello, Hale. Still Don't Care says, you've got a sweet head of hair. Thank you. Russell Lamster super chatted 5 Canadian dollars. Thank you, Russell Lamster. Russell Lamster says finger pointing emoji. That's funny. Thank you for the super chat, Russell. Big says, what was so funny about Canadian dollars? No, it's the fact that I had my hand pointing, and then I saw the super chat, and it was a hand pointing emoji. He like predicted it, so. Full Circle says, are you boned? What? Callie super chatted 2 American dollars. Thank you, Callie. Callie says, see ya chat, I'm a Lee before alarm goes off. IYKYK. I don't know what that abbreviation means, but see you later, Callie. Thank you for your super chat, I appreciate it. Hail Hype super chatted 5 American dollars. Thank you, Hail Hype. Hail Hype says, you're awesome. Happy to see you on again. I love your energy. Thank you, Hail Hype, for the super chat and your positiveness. Yoon says, it means if you know, you know. That's what Callie was saying. Okay, I get it. Alumni says, thoughts on semen magic? Semen magic? I don't know what that is. Not Anberry says, damn, your bun has grown since the last time? You're saying my hair? Okay. Coca-Cola says, did the court hearing go well? What court hearing? First says, you look like Deacon from the Thank You Deacon backflip meme. I don't know what that is. Hashira says, my school has a 7-Eleven. Okay. Block says, I'm getting parasocial instead of studying the Jew. Okay. Russell Lamster super chatted 5 Canadian dollars. Thank you, Russell Lamster. Russell Lamster says, glad I found your live tonight. Good night. Peace emoji, finger pointing emoji. Thank you, Russell. I really appreciate the super chats. Your Canadian dollars. See ya. Say says, I was assaulted by Big Mommy 64. Sorry to hear that. 12K says, what is your favorite song currently? Or just one of them is Red Dead Redemption 2 PS4 dynamic theme music. Frosty says, he really doesn't look like he cares about super chats. To be honest, I'm tempted to just, say thank you, and go all crazy, but I think that'd be a disservice to the stream to like just linger on super chats, and I don't want to overreact. I want to be myself. Trina says, you do seem to be glancing over at something. Okay. Chris says, what's up, dude? Hello, Chris. Mystery Comment says, Hashira just works at 7-Eleven and calls it school. Okay. First says, is it sort of like smiling in pictures even if you aren't happy? Not like that. Wait says, the chat is really entertaining sometimes. It is. JTA says, do you pool? No comment. I says, do you like the new Godzilla movies? I haven't watched them. -1 looks good though. Yoon says, you have been invited to the baddie industry in the toilet of Baddiesville. Thank you, but I'm good. Anti-Troll says, alright, well, bully then? What? Jack says, get a 9 to 5? Okay. Chuck says, I'm bricked up. You have an erection? Okay. Stig says, you're hilarious, and I'm still not sure if you're trying to be. Not really. I'm not. Magic says, gooning right now? Okay. I'm gonna end the stream now. Bye.